Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalron, and in today's video we're taking a look at another class that I'm excited about in BFA. And I think my excitement order really comes down to classes that I've made from first class to last. I think that's how this order is gonna go, because out of all the classes I've covered so far, I've covered Rogue, only the class I main, and then Warlock, which is my very first alt that I made after my Rogue. Both of these classes are going through a lot of interesting changes, especially with Rogue and Demo Warlock. But there's another class that I think I've played just about every single expansion except for Cataclysm, and that is a Hunter. I feel like Hunters have always made probably the best alts in the game. They're generally easier to play than most classes. They generally have at least one spec that's super easy to get into, and having range capability that's not a casting ability is so much fun. One, you can't get interrupted by DPS in PvP, so if a mage comes by trying to lock you out of your spells, you're not even casting spells in the first place, you're shooting bullets or arrows at them. Second, that physical damage I feel like allows you a lot more mobility, a lot more maneuverability, you're a lot more flexible, a lot more agile in terms of, I guess, how you can approach a situation. And I really like that. I don't like having one firm playstyle, so for a Hunter, I felt like it was perfect. And I played my Hunter throughout Mists of Pandaria, firing Chimera shots with one-shots, Warlord's Jenner, as well as Legion. And in Legion in particular, I had to bring my Hunter back as probably the third alt that I was super excited about, because of Survival Hunter, the Melee Hunter. Now, it was one of those specs that I thought it was going to be either make it or break it. It was either going to be a fun spec or just absolutely garbage spec. And I feel like by the end of Legion, it turned out, at least from the PvE perspective, as a spec that's the only thing that's harder than an Outlaw. So if any of you guys are struggling with Outlaw Rogue and you think that class is so RNG and just so not well put together, you should try playing some Survival. That's some hard class to play, man. Survival is complicated. It is not a simple class. It has abilities that I feel like to some extent even play against each other. So when you're trying to play a class that's currently trying to fight you and you're trying to wrestle for control with that same spec, it's the weirdest feeling ever. But I've enjoyed it. I like the unique playstyle, I like the challenge that comes with it, and I love the difficulty. It's super fun for PvP and gives the Hunter a different approach. And it's something that Blizzard really wanted to bring back from vanilla, so until WoW Classic comes out, this is the closest thing that I have to a melee Hunter. But Legion wants to give Survival a whole new face. The whole spec is going through so many changes in terms of how you play, the hybridness of you being melee as well as a range class, and trying to keep to those core Hunter specializations, but you also need to make sure that this is a good melee class at the same time. So what they've done is given a lot of these range/melee capabilities to a Hunter, a lot like what Unholy Death Knight saw, with most of your abilities having like a 30-yard range and only one really at melee range. So you're a Death Knight that feels real like a Necromancer spellcaster. And then we have classes like Enhancement Shaman, which doesn't even, again, have a melee range for most of your abilities. You have some pseudo range to everything, which makes it a lot easier for you to deal with targets. It makes it that much easier for you to hold range or not having to catch up. It's probably the best one of the best classes to play if you experience any kind of lag in World of Warcraft. Because of that extra range, you can always use their abilities. Survival Hunters are going overall fundamentally through a lot of changes, and there's a lot when it comes to that class. Overall, I'd say I'm excited about everything when it comes to primarily for Survival. Just about every aspect of that spec is what excites me. From the change of your abilities to how they're trying to bring back Serpent Sting and Bleeds and incorporate your pet and give you so much range to your abilities and change the way you burst, and just really to give the spec a much deserved, I guess, welcome back to the game. As in Legion, I felt like they did a decent job, but the spec saw almost no popularity in PvP and PvE for majority of players. Most people would rather play a Hunter as a Beastmaster or Marksman, and I feel like what they're doing for BFA is honestly justice. So it'll be great to go back to playing Survival again, but with a brand new playstyle that will hopefully be better than whatever Legion was able to accomplish, even though it was a pretty good attempt. The next spec that I guess I'm kind of excited about, and this is the one I was least excited about Legion, is Marksman. I feel like Marksman has been a staple of what a Hunter is, a range damage dealer that pelts your enemies with arrows and bullets. And for PvP, it probably has been one of the easiest classes I've ever played that puts out so much damage, has such good utility, especially in random battlegrounds. I'm not talking about getting good in arena and making sure my CC is fully good together. I'm just talking about going in a BG, standing at about 50 yards range where even a caster can't even hit you from, and just hitting them for a million after million after million, back to back to back. It is the best. And the spec has been something I liked as just something on the side, but also something I hated, because when it came to dungeons and raids, I honestly couldn't understand it. I'm not a huge fan of the current Marksman Hunter playstyle. Even though it's not that hard of a playstyle to play as what everybody else in the mother tells me, I am personally not a huge fan. I think we all have this one specialization, or maybe you play a class and you can play one spec, but the other two might be completely unfamiliar and in some cases foreign. That's kind of how Marksman felt for me. I felt that my rotation was perfect, but I still just couldn't get the numbers. I felt that my timing was as good as anybody else's, but my damage was still garbage. What it turned out is I honestly just had terrible stats for the spec, and I did not have best in slot legendaries. With survival, I felt there's always something I can do to improve on my rotation. There's always something I can do better. There's always a way I can play cleaner. And it turned out that with Marksman, I was playing it as clean as anybody else. I was just very gear dependent as I didn't have the right legendaries or stats. The new playstyle for BFA, however, is going to be more methodical. I love being able to bash my head against the wall, but if there's no progress while I'm bashing my head against the wall, then I just don't enjoy the spec, so I never enjoyed Legion Hunter. In BFA, however, they're bringing back a little bit more methodical gameplay of like a sniper from a distance. Abilities like aim shot are still there, but steady shot are coming back. Rapid fire is going to be a new one. It's going to have a lot more emphasis on the focus spending and building and aim shots and procs and a lot more thinking going on to the specialization. So I feel like there will be a potential for you to have maybe not the best gear, but if you can improve on your rotation, you can actually do a lot of damage. And that's one of the things I enjoyed. I feel like in Legion, the way they approach Marksman Hunter is to have like this Legolas/sniper mentality where you can either be a Legolas, where you're running around just pelting everybody with arrows, up close, far away, it didn't matter, you can adapt, but at the same time they wanted to influence this sniper heavy playstyle where you're all about planting your feet and being as far away as possible, and I felt like those two things clashed. It feels that in BFA with some of the talent choices that I'm super excited about, you might be able to either construct a full Legolas and play like Legolas, very mobile, very nimble, or a full sniper, plant your feet and pop some damage. Also, March Shot is making a comeback, and that's an ability that I remember back from Kata of all the hunters having. I only started the game when I started playing World of Warcraft only in Cataclysm, so I don't know all the other abilities from way back in the day, but Hunter's Mark I feel like is something that was a staple to the spec, and I feel like I'm just going to do like I would with my Rogue with Dispatch, just set it and forget it, because I missed that ability and I would love to play with it again. And then finally we have Beastmaster Hunter. Now this is the specialization of Hunter that I had the least experience with. I always thought this was an easy spec of Hunter to play, and I'm somebody who enjoys having hard specs to play. Sometimes not just hard specs to play, but rather specializations that are super, almost extremely difficult to play. Anything that plays against you, anything that tries to wrest the control away from the player, I'm usually on that boat, because I'm a masochist. But Beast Mastery has been a simple spec, and I can appreciate for being simple. That's all that I honestly want out of the spec in BFA. One of the things that is great about Beastmaster Hunter in Legion is it's a great specialization for anybody who first started World of Warcraft. And with BFA coming around the corner, I'm glad that we still continue to have this kind of specialization. It's fun, as it's something that you can simply just turn your brain off and just enjoy. You can run around, never having to cast a spell, always on the move, always doing damage, and if any side of trouble comes around, you always have your pet that can take the aggro for you. It is probably the best solo class player, and as somebody who plays Rogue, which hides in the shadows most of the time, and usually spends time by myself stalking prey, playing a class like Beastmaster Hunter with a pet that can always back you up without needing other players, it's kind of liberating and kind of awesome sometimes. It's a great specialization for anybody who loves the solo content, as you have probably the best tools for it. So if you're somebody who loves the solitary playstyle and maybe playing with others from time to time, I would say Beastmaster Hunter is probably the best. It isn't the spec that I'm super excited about, not like how I am excited about Survival or Marksman, but mostly because it doesn't have the playstyle that I'm really into. It's not methodical, or it doesn't try anything new, but what I like about it and what I can appreciate is it continues to be the same old Beast Mastery that we know and love, and that's good enough for me, honestly. I'll try the specialization out in BFA. I cannot guarantee that I'll probably continue playing it for too long. If there's some kind of a crazy PvP or PvE build, I'll probably give it a gander. And I think I'll keep this Hunter, as per usual, as my third specialization and or class that I'll level in BFA. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. This has been my video on things I'm excited about Hunters, super excited about Survival, super excited about Marksman, and I'm wondering to see how Beastmaster is going to turn out. But I am positive about all these three specs, and I'm positive that I'll probably continue playing Hunter in the future. Anyway guys, let me know what your thoughts on Hunter, and if you haven't made an alt as a Hunter, allied races are out. Hunters are pretty easy to level. What are you doing? Might as well go out and level yourself a Hunter real quickly. They're super fun, and trust me, you won't regret it. And in the next video, I am planning to either cover, I'm thinking monks, which is a class I'm not really so well versed on, but also paladins, mostly because of their mechanics and what they're all about. So out of those two classes, which one would you want to see me cover? Paladins or monks? Let me know all that in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you guys in another video.